Welcome to part 1 of RTI's Lutron Lighting Integration Series. In this lesson, we'll take a closer look at Lutron Caséta, examine the integration report, and show you how to effectively integrate Caséta lighting into your RTI system. During this training, if anyone has any questions, please type them in the Q&A. And if you have any questions later on or watching the recording, please feel free to email us at any time. Now, this webinar is going to require a little bit of proficiency on the Lutron Caséta side. You're going to have to be familiar with the products, with the installation procedure, which is basically just installing dimmers, switches, fan control, Pico remotes, plug-in dimmers, outdoor smart plug, shades, and even motion sensors. Now, lighting is a great opportunity in the AV markets. You're not just selling lighting, you're selling ambience, convenience, efficiency, and safety. Some could argue privacy as well, especially if you're doing shades. Now, Lutron has some excellent training programs to get you up to speed, but we'll just assume you have some experience with lighting control. Now, with Lutron Caséta, a variety of lighting products, up to 75 devices can be installed in a system at once. And again, you're looking to sell the solution, not the actual products. Once clients have lighting control systems, they're going to want to add on, and they're going to want to do it over and over again in future homes or businesses. Now let's take a look at our integration report, because that's the first thing that you're going to have to generate when you're looking at the Lutron system. So you're going to fire the Lutron app, and the first thing you're going to do is click that little cogwheel in the upper left, and that's going to take you into your settings. Click Advanced, and click on Integration, and then Send Integration Report. Just send the integration report to yourself or to your installer so that they have the working list of devices. And then you're ready for business. Now, when it comes to Lutron, you'll generate this integration report. Let's open this up and take a look at the integration report. Now, the first thing you're going to see is a collection of different IDs. On top, this smart bridge, and there are two different bridges with the Lutron system, the Lutron Brain or Hub, as they call it. There's a Pro Series and a regular series Smart Hub. You're going to want to purchase the Pro Hub series in order to get the integration features. Now, ID 1 is always going to be reserved for that smart bridge. So you'll see that smart bridge right here. Now, you can also create phantom scenes on the Smart Hub. What are phantom scenes? Why do we need them? Why do we create them? Well, phantom scenes are scenes that you create on the Lutron side, and you could run them from a control system. The reason why that benefits you is that all the lighting circuits, let's say a chandelier or sconces or ceiling lights, they all start to ramp at the same time. That's called a smooth transition instead of a popcorn effect where they're staggered out. So phantom scenes are always going to be in your benefit. And here you can create as many phantom scenes as you want. There is a limit. I think that's 75 as well. And you can see here that scene 1 has been set up with a welcome scene. And that's number 1 phantom scene. Scene 2 is movie, then dimmer, then evening, and then goodbye. And you could see as you scroll through these, you've got all these different phantom buttons that you could program. Let's go back to the end here and see how many you've got. I think you've got 100 of these to program. Quite a lot of phantom scenes. Now, after the phantom scenes, you're going to find the actual devices on the bottom of the report. And you can see that ID 2 is dedicated to my office Pico. Okay, that's a 4-button remote, and you could see my numbers, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Those are just the numbers of the scenes. And then you're going to see the actual fixtures or circuits or devices, as we call it in this class, in the report. Our office fixture, ID 3. Our office ceiling, ID 4. Our office desk lamp, 5. And so on and so forth. And as we move through this, you're going to see that there is a large collection of devices, up to 10 devices. We support, again, 75 devices. With Lutron Select, which is also supported with the same integration, you get 100 devices. So we only have 10 devices here, or 10 different device loads, but in your systems, you could have up to 75. Also, your lighting number IDs might be staggered out. You might skip around a little bit, out of order. It all depends on how you add them, in the order in which you add them, and that matters to your report. Now, we're going to keep this report handy because I have an Integration Designer file that I created in advance, which doesn't have the lighting yet. It just has a couple of rooms, a media room and an office. And in those rooms, we have the regular video and audio activities that you would expect. We also have a shared Sonos player, a security system, and you can see that both rooms have their own share of devices. Now, we haven't added lighting yet, and let's do that now. Now, we have to keep that Lutron report handy because we're going to need that when we add the Caséta driver. Let's go to the Add Workspace item. And our Add Workspace item should pop up. And now we're going to head over to the Driver tab. I'm going to resize this window a little bit, make it a little more flexible. Now, I'm going to search for Lutron. I'm going to just search for Caséta. Now, it should be known that the Caséta driver also supports RAW2 Select. RAW2 Select is going to have a different spectrum of products, and it's going to support 100 devices versus the 75 in Caséta. However, the integration is pretty much the same. Now, you might notice that the Caséta driver, instead of adding just the driver, if you open up the plus sign, you'll see the 100 devices, 75 of which can be applied to a Caséta system. Of course, make sure you read the driver notes so you understand how to use this. There's even a sample file. But our goal is to add the devices that correspond to the integration report. Now, device 1 is always going to be reserved for that smart hub. So there'll never be a device 1 dedicated to a circuit like a dimmer or a switch or a fan control or appliance module or something like that. So we're going to look at the report real quick, and we're going to start from our first product, which is ID 2. That's our Office Pico. So I'm going to start adding this in our file. So I'm going to go to my device 2. Now, where do you put the devices? A lot of people think you have to put all of your dimmers or devices and switches into the global area. That's simply not true. It really doesn't matter where you put it. If you want to put it in global, that's fine, but I prefer putting it in the individual room. So device 2 is our Office Pico. So let's select the office, click Next, and we're going to name this Office, well, we'll just call it Pico Office. Okay? Now, I'm not going to create any pages for this, nor am I going to create any pages for any other devices that I've added. So I'm going to keep this thing up here, add pages or commands, unchecked. That will remember it next time as I add devices, so I don't have to keep unselecting pages. So let's add our Pico without the page to our iPad. Okay, so there's our Pico in our office. Here's our driver. Now, we could always change the name of that driver, and we'll do that last, but let's continue adding the loads or devices using the existing driver. You could see device 2 is gone. So let's go and add device 3. Now, device 3 is the office fixture. If I open up the integration report, you'll see that device 3 is the office fixture. So I'm going to add device 3 to the office. Now I'm going to call this office fixture. Again, no pages for these. Add device. Next up, device 4, office ceiling. And I could call it ceiling lights if I want. Add device. Next up, the 5 is the office desk lamp. So let's add that to the office as well. Name it office desk lamp. Add device. And let's add device 6, which is going to be the office cove lights. Okay, so we've got our office devices added. Now we're also going to scroll down a little bit here, and we could add our devices to the media room. And we've got a few devices in the media room, starting with device 7, which is the media room sconces. So I'm going to go to device 7. This time, select the media room, click next, and these are going to be my media room sconces. Next up, device 8. And again, these probably won't be in a natural order in real projects, but to keep it easy, I've just kept these in order. Device 8, well, that's going to be our media room ceiling lights. So let's name it as such. Device 9 is going to be our media room cove lights. Great. And device number 10 is our media room ambient TV lights. So let's just call this media room TV lights. Now I'm keeping these named with the room name, and that's going to serve as a benefit for you when you're programming. And I'll show you how that can be utilized when we're programming our dimmers. So let's add that device now. Okay, once you're done adding your devices now, you're ready to move on. Let's click close for now. And now let's go to our driver. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this driver. I'm just going to call it Lutron Caséta. So I'm going to get rid of this other noise after the Lutron Caséta driver name. And now the driver is called Lutron Caséta. Now I'm going to click on driver properties. And here I'm going to make sure that the driver mode is set to the correct lighting system. We're using Caséta, not RAW2 Select, but you would select RAW2 if you were using that. Remember, that's RAW2 Select, not Radio RAW2, which has a separate driver. So let's make sure Caséta is selected. We're going to enter in the IP address of our Caséta hub. Mine will be 27.114. And now the port it uses is 23, and the username and password, at least for this driver, can be set to Lutron Integration. Now, you're going to enter in the driver loads, and you're going to want to set the last device ID used. Since we went up to 10 devices in our Lutron device numbers, we're going to set this to 10. That way, my driver will be trimmed down just to the loads I need. And here, I'm going to name my loads again. Now, there's 2 ways to name your loads. I can name it here, for example, ID2, and I can name ID1 Lutron Smart Hub or something like that. That's fine. We know that ID1 is that all the time, but I can name ID2 my Office Pico. And another way to do it is to actually click on your device. So for example, I'm going to click on my office fixture. And now if I click on source properties and I open this up here, I can name this here as well. So I can name this office fixture. So whatever way you prefer, you can do it that way. I like to enter them in here in the driver, but you could do it in both. So now you could see the office fixture is updated there. Let's do ID4, which is going to be the office ceiling. I'm not going to bother putting in the word lights because we know what this is. Office desk lamp. And 6 is our office cove lights. And then 7 through 10 are our media room. So let's start with our media room, sconces. And if you make a little spelling mistake, that's okay, but I'll fix that. We'll name device 8, media room ceiling. Device 9, media room cove. And we'll go with ID 10, which is our media room. Media room TV lights. Okay, so those are our devices. But we don't have to put in anything else. We don't have to put in the room names or anything like that. I'll fix any little typos I made. And you just have to put in the names of the devices. Now, again, Lutron supports dimmers, switches, fan control devices, Pico remotes, which are little wireless remotes that you could either put in the wall or on a table. Or we also have those plug-in dimmers, outdoor smart plugs, great for those holiday lights, shades, of course, and motion sensors. So whatever you want to put in from the Lutron system, you're going to put in. Let's fix this guy as well. And there you go. All right. Now, once you're done with the integration report, these numbers are going to help us program the Lutron system. Now, I didn't create any pages in either room for any of my loads. If I click on my office fixture, there's no pages. If I click on my media room sconces, no pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Ed Workspace item. And now I'm going to head over to page sets. Now, it should be said that there's a lot of different approaches to program lighting. You can program this 100 different ways. This is the way I like to program lighting. I like for the client to be able to select a room and select the lighting in that room. However, if you want to put all of your dimmers in one place in global, that's more than fine. Whatever your client wants and whatever you feel is appropriate is fine. Now I'm going to go to my blank page set here. Actually, I'll go to the Lutron page set. I really prefer this for the RA3 and RA2, but I'll add this Lutron lighting page set. But I'm not going to actually use the pages, but I'm going to use the source device. So I'm going to put one in the office. And now I'm going to name this office. I'll name it lighting office, but I'm not going to create any pages there either just yet. I prefer to use the page wizard for that. I don't like this stock page because it really doesn't apply to Caséta well. So let's add that device. And now I'm going to go to my Lutron lighting again, this time media room. And this time I'm going to name this lighting media room. Now, why did I do this? Because I'm going to serve up a source device that's going to encompass the devices and scenes in my room. Let's click close and let's click on the first page set we created, the lighting in the office. I'm going to go to my page wizard from my iPad and whatever other controllers you want. And now I'm going to scroll down to my elegance template since that's what I'm using. And I'm going to look for the lighting page set or the lighting template page. Now, there is a Lutron lighting one. I kind of prefer this more for RA3 actually, and Homeworks QSX. It has more tags features that aren't available in Caséta. So I'm going to add my lighting and I'm going to insert that here. Okay. And then I'm going to go click close. And then I'm going to, while I'm here, I'll just do it for the media room as well. Page wizard, iPad, scroll down to lighting, insert that there as well. And these should adapt to my template as I would expect. Now, if you want, it's optional, but you could name this office lighting if you want. That's just the page. And that's helpful because when you're in the controller view and you see a list of pages, you'll see the name of the lighting. It'll say office lighting instead of just lighting. And I'll name this one media room lighting. That makes it a little easier, but optional as well. So let's start with our lighting in the office, okay? Now I'm going to go and edit this viewport because that's how the lighting is served up. And the first thing you're going to see in this viewport is a bunch of scenes. Now, we have two different sets of scenes in this system. We've got the scenes that we've created on Phantom buttons, and we have the scenes that we created on the Pico remote, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is rearrange these in a better way. First, I'm going to make the first four my Office Pico remote. And I'm going to put these over here, okay? That's fine the way these are, okay? And then I'm going to just delete these, and I'm going to make another copy of these. Oops. Control C, Control V. I'm going to make another copy of these, and I'm going to see if I can fit. Let's make these a drop smaller. Let's resize them. I'm going to put a scene 5 on there. I'm just going to kind of equalize the spacing on these people. There we go. So one of them is going to be for my, again, Phantom scenes, and one of them is going to be for my Pico. Now, for the Pico, with Lutron, let's go to the tag browser, and now from the dropdown, select the Lutron Caséta driver. These are the available tags that are available in the Lutron Caséta. These will automatically program for you. So you can see that there's a light tag. That's a light toggle on and off. There's a light down, light level, which are great for sliders or text values showing you to level, light on and off, light stop. If you want to stop the light from ramping, light up, and some shade as well. We didn't do any shades in this particular webinar, but they work the same way as dimmers, except different tags. Now, notice that there's no scene tags in this series here. Lutron Caséta has very limited integration options. So that means the scenes are a little bit more manual than I would like. So the first thing I'm going to do is name our scenes. Now, all of these scenes are tagged. Scene 1, Scene 2, and that's good. That's why I made a copy of these. The only thing I need to do is change the text on this to Scene 5, and I'm going to change the tag to Scene 5. That way, I've got the right tags. Now, you might ask, how could you have two sets of buttons with the same tags? Well, we'll get to that. For now, let's name these according to the scene. Now, other versions of Lutron, like Lutron Radio Raw 3 or Homeworks QSX, which uses the LEAP protocol, we're going to cover that webinar in our next Lutron series, but those have more tags and require less work, manual work, than Caséta does. However, Caséta uses less loads and stuff like that. It's for smaller systems. Doesn't matter how big the house is. It just matters how many devices you want to install. So let's name this first scene from our Pico, Welcome. That'll be our little welcome for the office. And in our second scene, well, let's make that Movie. Okay? Third scene. Oh, I got the wrong scenes. I apologize. Let's do, the first one is going to be, for my Pico, is going to be Work. So excuse me there. Let's change this to Work. I've got them confused with the Phantom series. The second dimmer in my office is going to be Meeting. The third scene is going to be Reading. When I'm trying to do some research or something like that. And my fourth scene, we're going to call that all off. Okay, so I've got my buttons named. I've got them tagged. Let's go take care of these buttons as well. So the first Phantom button scene is Welcome. The second one is Movie, just like I accidentally did before. The third one, well, that's going to be Dinner Scene. The fourth one, that one is going to be an evening scene when people are winding down. And the fifth one, well, when I'm leaving the home, how about a goodbye scene? So I've got my tags which kind of overlap between these two dimmers. One's again for the Pico, and one is for just phantom buttons that we've created on the Lutron hub, which have been already programmed by us. Now we can change those in the Lutron hub, and these will reflect in the control system. That's what makes Lutron really cool. You can change it in the Lutron side, and the RTI side, if you programmed it correctly, will work in tandem with the Lutron system and reflect that change. Now, how do you have the same tags on different buttons on the same page? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to create two layers. I'm going to call this first layer, I'll call it Office Pico. You don't even have to be that descriptive because I'm going to link this to my Office Pico. So in my office, I added that Office Pico, and there it is in the office. Let's click OK. So now I have a layer called Office Pico. I'm going to create another layer called, we'll call it Phantom. And now I'm going to link that just to the, doesn't matter where I link it. I probably could link it to another dimmer or something like that, but I'll just link it to, I'll just leave it on this page. That's just so it's separated. Now, these are on separate layers. This is on this layer that we're creating here, the lighting layer. And this one, we're going to move by right-clicking, move to layer, Office Pico. So now these are on two different layers. One's on the Office Pico layer, one's on the lighting layer. Okay? All right. Now, we're going to program these. So let's head to our macro. Let's click Source. And now let's go to our macro steps. Again, a little more manual than I would like, but it's pretty simple to program this in Integration Designer. And you only have to do it once thanks to the tags. So let's bring in a command. Let's select our Lutron Caséta. And now let's go and set our buttons here. Let's find the right one. Let's go to our keypads, Pico control buttons. Let's select our Office Pico from the dropdown. And now we're going to go with those buttons on our PJ2 4B. Remember the 8, 9, 10, 11 that was in our integration report? Well, these are what these correspond to. Button 1, 2, 3, and 4. And since that model is the PJ2 4B, this is going to press that first button. And now let's just copy this. We'll paste this into our second button and change it. That'll be button 9, button 10, and button 11. Okay. Now, you could also do things like press and release. That's if you want to have something stop ramping immediately. I think I like that better for shades, but it is an option you have available for you. Okay. Now, there are other Pico types in the Lutron world. I'm using a 4-scene controller, but there are other Picos, so make sure you pick the right one. If you're using one of those Picos that has the favorites button and the up, down, and on-off buttons, well, then you'll use the ones on top. But I'm using the 4-button Pico. Again, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay. Now, I also could put a reverse state on these if I want. Let's go to the reverse state, see what's available for us. So I'm going to go look for my, doesn't look like we have a reverse state for these. So you can see that it's a little limited in what you can do with the Pico. We don't actually have individual Pico reverse states, which is okay. All right. So we've got our Picos program. Now, what about our phantom buttons? We're going to go to our macro now. And again, I'm going to bring in a command, select my Caséta, but this time I'm going to select phantom buttons, phantom keypad buttons. Now, again, these are going to be the buttons that are on top. So we've got a welcome, movie, dimmer. I put these in order, but these might, again, skip around in the real world. You might have programmed these a little differently. So let's get these programmed. This will be scene 1 of on our phantom button, which is ID 1, which is, of course, the smart hub. Let's copy this. Let's just paste in 2. 3, 4, and 5. That was pretty simple. So we've got the 5 different scenes programmed. If you have more, you can incorporate them in regular macros. For example, on my lighting system, when I launch my office, let's see what we have in the office. When I launch my cable box, well, maybe the office is not a great example of this. Maybe my media room would be better. If I go to my activities here, maybe when I launch my kaleidoscape activity, maybe I want to go and create an event here when my kaleidoscape is on, or turns on, or is set to on. I can go to my driver events and trigger a movie scene. So I could say when the movie's playing. So if I go to the movie playing screen, or if the movie starts playing, whatever's available to me. Let's take a look at some of these. I could say whenever I'm playing movie content, whenever that event switches, well, now I could I could paste that command in and select the movie scene, which is scene 2. So you could do stuff like that, but we'll get to events. Let's finish programming this. So we've got our scenes programmed. What about the dimmers? Now, I'm not a big fan of giving my client individual dimmer control on the user interfaces. I do, but it's kind of regretful because they really never use it. They always try to use the scenes more, which are really meant to reduce the amount of having to ramp and lower dimmers. So let's go to this second frame of our viewport. Now here, you're going to see 4 different circuits, and you could add more if you like. Now, all of these circuits are tagged, and notice that these tags are exactly the same as our Lutron Caséta tags here. So we've got light on, we've got a light off, we've got a light level. We also have a light level in a text-based feedback in form of a text tag. Now, Lutron will not name your dimmers. That Lutron Caséta, excuse me. The other versions like RAW3 and QSX, those will name your dimmers with this instance ID tag. So you do have to name your dimmers, but take a look at the structure of our layers. We've assigned each circuit to its own little layer, and we've done this for a reason. We've done this so that you could link these layers to the appropriate device in your room. So device 1, let's go and link that. So I'm going to select circuit 1, which is that dimmer over there on the left, and I'm going to now go into the layer properties, excuse me, and I'm going to link that first dimmer to my office fixture. So I'm going to select my office fixture in the office. Click OK. And now this will mostly program. It programmed my percentage. It programmed my light on and off commands. And it also programmed my slider with the appropriate commands. So easy to do. Let's link all the circuits. Circuit 2, well, we know what that goes to. That's going to go to our office ceiling lights. So let's select office ceiling, office, circuit 3. That's going to link to our office desk lamp in our office. And circuit 4 is going to link to our office cove lights in our office. So it's pretty easy to program these dimmers, even though hopefully the client won't really use these a lot. But now if they needed that individual dimmer control, they've got it. Now, what's great about these layers, and this is why you really don't have to create your own layers with any real names. You know, we named them circuit 1, 2, 3, and 4, but it could easily be 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the reason why is because you'll see in the parentheses where they're linking to. I know that circuit 1 is the office fixture. I know that circuit 2 is the office ceiling light, and so on and so forth. That's why I name those loads as descriptively as I can, even if I didn't necessarily name them as such in the Lutron Caséta app itself. Now for these IDs, I'm going to go here and I'm going to delete the text. And I'm going to, of course, call this office fixture. You probably don't even have to put in the room name because you're in the office, but whatever you want to do to give your client the best experience possible. This circuit 2, if I look at my layer, is my ceiling lights. Well, in circuit 3, well, that'll be for the desk lamp. Again, I'm not going to put in the name of the room because the client knows they're in the office. And this last one is going to be our cove lights. Okay. Now we do give you in that page set a couple of other features like RGBW. You don't necessarily need that for Caséta. If you do, you've got that as well, and some other color scenes if you want. I prefer these with other Lutron systems, so I usually go in here and delete these so that my viewport only has now 2 frames. My scenes paint frame and my regular frame for my dimmers. So pretty simple to program. And of course, we're going to you're going to go to the media room and do again the same thing here. The media room doesn't have a Pico, so you could just program some phantom buttons, and we've created phantom buttons specifically for the media room, like movie and stuff like that. So again, same thing you're going to do. You're just going to program your scenes and link your dimmers to the room devices. So I'm going to aim this at the media room sconces. And it doesn't matter what order you go in. And now that's programmed. The only thing you have to do again is name the dimmer. Okay? Those are unfortunately, or the switch. If you're linking to a switch, well, let's say this was a switch, this second load. Obviously, probably get rid of the slider. Okay? And you probably don't need a light level, although it doesn't hurt to have 0 and 100, but that's what you would do there. So pretty simple to program. Let's look at some other features of Caséta. Now, Caséta itself has some pretty cool events. Let's click on the Caséta driver. And here, select driver events in the driver configuration. Here you could see all these press events for the Lutron Smart Hub. So for example, when my ID button 1 is pressed, well, I could do something. So for example, ID 1 is a welcome scene. ID 2 is a movie scene. So maybe when ID 2 is pressed, I can do something. So let's do something for real. Let's pretend that on our dinner scene, which was, what was that? ID 3. So we're going to find ID 3 here, or button 3, I should say. When button 3 is pressed, the phantom button dinner scene, right? Again, let's just take a look at the integration report. That's on top right here. That dinner scene is button press 3. What should we do? Well, let's go to our macro steps here and let's make sure we can go and see what time it is first, because I want to do this on a time-based event. So let's go and do a time range test. And now I want to do this at a specific time. Let's say if it's between 5 p.m. do any day, but I could do a special weekdays if I want and do another weekend, but I'm just going to go any day, really. And now I'm going to do between any day on, let's go, let's see, dinner time, let's go up to 6:30 p.m. Now, if it's between those times, any day between 5 p.m. and 6:30, whoops, let's get that set to p.m. That could be dangerous. Okay. I don't just want to invoke that scene, which this button will do anyway. I also want to go, and I'll bring in a command here. Let's go and select our Denon receiver. And let's select our input source for our Sonos player at CD. And now let's go and set our another command here. And let's select our Sonos player from the list. And now I can go and select a different, maybe a certain playlist I like. So I'm going to head down to my playlist commands. And I'm going to go, where is those playlists? Here it is. Playlist from list. Maybe my Sonos player. Maybe I'll play my jazz, which is playlist number 6. Okay. If you want to set the volume to a certain level. And what's great about the Denon is you don't need a power on. Simply selecting an input will turn it on, turn on your audio distribution. And now I could enjoy some jazz while I'm, having dinner or some dinner music, whatever you're into. So that's an example of something you could do. Now, another thing I could do is on that scene that's used for the goodbye scene. And that goodbye scene, so let's go to button number 5. So let's find that button, number 5 pressed. That could also do something else, like arm my security. So when I hit goodbye on that scene, maybe I want to arm my security because I'm leaving the house. Now I could bring in a command, select my security system from the dropdown, and now I can go here and I could say, let's do quick arming, single partition, arm away. So now when that goodbye scene is invoked, it will also make sure that it arms my system. Another thing I can do is I could schedule this to run with a call macro, so it'll arm my system in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so on and so forth. Now, as you go through the different Lutron devices here, I could even make, let's say my Pico that I bought, that 4-button Pico, maybe I didn't buy it to control lights. Maybe I bought it to be an actual remote in my office to control music. Well, I can go now to my button here. Let's go to my button for my device 2, it was. Let's go button 1, which is button 8, right? Button 8, button 1, same thing. And when that's pressed, and now I would engrave that favorite playlist. Let's put a little comment in here. This is going to activate my favorite playlist. And now I'm going to go bring in a command, select my Sonos again. And now this is going to play my Sonos playlist. Where is that playlist again? Play from line in. There you go. So maybe it'll play that playlist that I want. Well, that wasn't it. Select playlist from list. Here we go. Sorry about that. Let's select the Sonos, and maybe that's number 8. Now, maybe that's my favorite playlist, okay? Now, what about button 2 or button 9? Same thing. When button 9 gets pressed, well, I'm going to make that be a volume up command. So I'll put in a little comment. We'll go volume up. And now I'll bring in my command. Now I'm going to select my Bijou because that's in my, well, we'll do the Denon in my office. Let's select the Denon. And now let's go for that volume up command in the main zone. I'm going to copy all of this. And now I'm going to go to my button 9, which is going to be volume down. Oh, I'm on button 9. Excuse me. I'm going to go to button 10, and that's going to be volume down. And now this is going to set the volume down. Last but not least, my last Pico button, button 4, which is number 11, that's going to be my mute button. So I'll paste this in, and I'll name this, just name it volume mute. And of course, I'll engrave it through Lutron that way. And now this will mute my, well, we'll do toggle. So now I just made a Pico into a control system remote that can do anything you want. Okay, so that's something you can do as well. All right. So as you scroll through these, you could also run events when different fixtures are invoked. For example, every time let's go down to our media room because those are where the cool stuff happens. Every time I turn on my media room button, scene, or every time I turn on my ceiling lights, maybe I want to go and activate the activity for my kaleidoscope or whatever my favorite activity is. I can do that. So you have all these different scenes that you can use in your system. All these events, excuse me. Now, Lutron also has connected, not connected, using RTI-Q. These are excellent features to use with an RTI-Q system. That way, if your client's Caséta system for some reason is disconnected from the network, well, you'll find out about it before that. But not very common, which is why I love Lutron. Not only are they control system agnostic, but very bulletproof, reliable, and easier to do business with. Excellent training programs, excellent dealer programs, and so on. Let's finish up with one last scenario. What if you want to use a custom template that either you created or purchased for your Lutron Caséta system? Definitely a legitimate ask. So let's take a look at a file I created that has a Lutron page set in here. It's just a normal page set on my iPad. So you could see that I've tagged and separated all of these lights. So for example, light 1, light 2, just like the stock templates in Integration Designer. Even the keypad has its own little layer that I created. And that's going to be the phantom buttons. So again, what you would do is, let's exit out of this. What you're going to do is you're going to go to your lighting in the office. And now I'm going to pull my macro window down a little bit. Merge pages to my iPad from another system file. We're going to select that custom lighting template we created. Click the iPad in that project. And now we could browse the pages and see what we've created. Let's click OK. Bring that in. And now we've got the Lutron Caséta page. But this is for the new project. Now, none of these have been linked to layers, and that's what we'll do. It's as simple as that. Again, light 1, we're going to go to the office ceiling lights or office fixture. Click OK. Programmed. Light 2, office ceiling lights. Select the ceiling lights. Select the office. Click OK. The third, well, that one's going to be the office desk lamp. And let's finish off with the cove light in light 4. So by preparing these in advance, it's going to make programming a lot easier. Just import your program, link your layers, and you're done. All we have to do now is name our devices and program our scenes on our keypad. Again, all of these are programmed for us because they're going to have the same tags as this page. Once we're done, delete this page, and now your custom page goes into effect. Okay? Again, all you're going to do is rename your circuits. So again, you're going to use the layers to rename these. This one is going to be the fixture, and you'll see it populate. You'll also see the level populate, the light toggle, and the slider. Pretty simple to bring in your own interfaces. That's the Lutron Caséta webinar. We'll see you next time when we go over the Lutron Radio Raw 3 or QSX homeworks, when we review the LEAP protocol. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.